Hello, everyone. Doc Severson here with you. ReadySetCrypto. Welcome to Trade School. First off, I'd like to welcome all of our premium subscribers. Hello, folks. Good to see you out there. TGIF, and I hope everybody's getting ready for a fun holiday week. I certainly am. I'm getting to see everybody. Everybody's coming into town, and we may have a few adult beverages here and there. You just never know what's going to happen. Howdy, everybody. Good to see everybody out there. And I'd like to also welcome our guests here today from YouTube land. So we did open up today's session out to the interwebs, and we're inviting everybody to join me here today. Oops, looks like I need to do a little bit of audio work here. Okay. Showing the wrong screen. All right. Here we are. Okay. So that'll happen here in a second. So welcome aboard, everybody. I'd like to welcome you folks to Trade School here today. There it is. There it is. Now I can see the, should be all good. So today, what are we going to go over today in Trade School? Well, first of all, don't do anything silly. Don't trade your money as if it's gambling or anything like that. Trade it like a business, and it will pay you like a business. Treat it like a hobby, and it will be the most expensive job. Who is calling me a shill? Come on, seriously. All right. It is Friday after all. Today, what we're going to be talking about is, first of all, I had a request from our premium membership to say, hey, Doc, looks like you read a book here or two. Could you go over the books that you consider important for learning trading? And I kind of went overboard. I'll tell you guys ahead of time. I went a little bit overboard here, and I've broken it down. And what's going to happen here is I'm going to put books up in front of you guys. I'm just going to hold them up to the camera. And if you didn't catch the name or the author title, just rewind the video when we're done here today, and you'll see them. These are all easily available. And if it's a paperback, I would recommend that you try to get it through used first if you can. You know, don't pay full price for a book. Get it used. Find somebody else that doesn't need it anymore. Yeah, When Moon. I love this. It's like it wouldn't be a Friday webinar without a When Moon question. I love this. That makes me feel like we're real here today. And then the other question that I got coming in from the premium membership is, could you go over some thoughts on short setups? Short setups, meaning the ones that make money as they go down. All right, so without further ado, this is your Friday, so I want to keep it tight today. I'm going to break down books into 4 categories. I've got a literal pile in front of me here, and I want to walk you guys through some of the books that I find to be very, very important, have been responsible for sticking some stuff into this cranium. And, you know, you'd be surprised that if you do feed your head, if you do work on yourself with this, it will pay off for you. It will pay off for you. All right. Oh, excellent. I've already got 2 downvotes. Don't forget to downvote this. No, I'm just kidding. Please don't downvote. Okay. So first of all, the first category I'm going to go over here is human performance. So human performance is more of how do you tap into the potential of your own mind. If you've ever found yourself doing things that you can't explain, or if you find natural resistance to what you're doing, then consider this category and consider some of the books that are in this category. Now, I'm not going to do a book report on each one of these, but I will do something like this. So let's go Big Doc and Little Slides here. Okay, Big Doc and Little Slides. So the first one I want to bring to your attention is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This book has been out forever, probably something around 80 years or so. And if you have not read this book before, it won't necessarily make sense the first time you go through it. So Napoleon Hill has tapped into something here, and it's one of those that kind of grows on you after a while. All of a sudden, some of the lessons that are in the book will make sense to you later on. Okay, book number 2, and I'm just going to create a pile down here, and it's going to be a huge pile by the end of our session here today. The second book, and this one is a little bit more bizarre. But once again, this book is probably about 50 years old or so. Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. The mind is a very powerful thing, especially in with regards to trading. And you will get what you think you deserve from the market. If you're not getting what you think you should deserve from the market, maybe you need to work on what's upstairs. So it's a very interesting read. Yeah, I won't go into it right now. Just look it up on Amazon and start to look at some of the reviews for this book. It's a fascinating book. Maxwell Maltz. All right. Cognitive dissonance. Yeah. This one is really interesting. And actually, I'm going to recommend T. Harv Eker. Let's see. T. Harv Eker, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, Mastering the Inner Game of Wealth. What I'm going to recommend that you guys do is find the audio book for this one, because T. Harv reads off the audio book and he's a lot of fun. So for those of you that are Canadian, you can claim him to be your own. And it actually is a really good listen. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. Building a pile. Okay. As it relates to neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, you'll probably hear a lot more about this through the years. One of the guys that has sort of pioneered this is a fellow by the name of John Assaraf. So the first half of this book, I think, is useful. The second half of it is not useful. It's only for those, the second half of the book is only for those that are running some kind of corporation. So the first half of the book explains how you make decisions with your mind, what pieces of the brain, such as the reticular activating system. So when you pull a belief, when you have a belief about something, basically what happens is it instructs your senses to go out and find every piece of information about that. So guess what? If you're bullish, if you have a bias that you're bullish, what it's going to do is it's going to send a message out to your reticular activating system, find me all the information that's out there that supports the belief that I am bullish. And so that's why, if you've ever noticed, like, if you've ever taken an interest in a new car or something like that, like, wow, that Subaru is the coolest thing ever, and all of a sudden you see them everywhere. That's because your reticular activating system is kicking in and is tuning into that specific visual for that. So the answer, there's a lot of other sources out there. This is not the only one as it relates to neurolinguistic programming. There's a lot of resources out there, but this is a book which I found to be useful. Okay, so again, that was John Assaraf. Now, a very recent one, and I've made a little bit of noise about this one. This is James Clear, Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits by James Clear. Think about this. If you could, what people do is they're not happy with where they're at right now. And so they see this sort of summit of where they want to be, and they assume that they can just run up to the top there. And it doesn't work that way. What you have to do is to make incremental improvements. So this concept is called the aggregation of marginal gains. And James Clear is actually, he's a guy that's right down the street from me here. And I've met him in person before. He's been on the CBS Morning News. So Google this guy. So just go onto YouTube and Google, or go onto YouTube and Google. Go onto YouTube and search James Clear CBS. And he's got about 3 interviews where he's actually on the morning show. Very impressive individual, and will help you become much more efficient in terms of what you do. All right. Atomic Habits by James Clear. Okay, so the next 3 books, these are all Tim Ferriss. If you don't know who Tim Ferriss is yet, Ferriss like is in something made out of iron, ferric. Tim Ferriss. One of them is Tools of Titans. Actually, everything that Tim does is awesome, is great. He started, his first book is called The 4-Hour Work Week. If you haven't read that one, that's really a lot of fun. So if you want to be a professional vagabond, read The 4-Hour Work Week. It caused a lot of people to think differently about life and about how to approach things. But Tools of Titans is a mammoth tome here. And it's kind of like a reference book for, and it's like, how do all these successful people, how do they make it in life? And what kind of trip tips and tricks and things like that do they use? So Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. Okay, so again, guys, if you're just joining us here, what I'm going over is I've been asked by our premium members to like, hey, Doc, could you go over a few books that have helped you along your journey to become a more successful trader, human being, entrepreneur, whatever. And so not that I am, holding myself up as an example, but I'm just saying to you guys, these are some of the things that have helped me along the way and more than likely would help you. Now, this is a similar one by Tim Ferriss, again, Tribe of Mentors, huge, kind of a reference manual. And they're very easy to read because it's not like you're reading like 100-page chapters or anything like that. Each section in here is just an interview with a person, and it's maybe 2-3 pages. So you can pick it up anywhere. You can pick it up in the middle of the book and start reading, and instantly you'll connect to it. So Tribe of Mentors by Tim Ferriss is another one. Try to find it used. These are big books. These are expensive. Now, here's an odd one that would probably, at first glance, would probably not seem to make any sense for you. The 4-Hour Chef by Tim Ferriss. This is one of the most gorgeously formatted and printed books that I've ever seen. This is just a work of art. And you might think, well, what does cooking have to do with trading? And actually a lot, because what a lot of this section of the book, a lot of this book that Tim Ferriss did was, how do you become world-class at something in a very short period of time? That's what's been driving him for a number of years, is this whole human performance thing. How do you become world-class at some activity in a very short period of time? How do you shortcut that process? How do you hack that process? And so that's kind of Tim's thing, is showing you how to do things a lot faster. And actually one of the things that he does in the 4-Hour Chef is show you how to break things down. So if you had to learn the guitar in a short period of time, for those of you that are guitarists, I know that that's not possible, but if you're, anything like that, learn how to play drums or maybe even trade in a short period of time. How would you accomplish that? How could you break that down into bite-sized chunks so you could accomplish some type of competency in a very short period of time? So Tim Ferriss, 4-Hour Chef. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to go over trading performance. I have a small set of books here for trading performance. You'll notice that the biggest stack that I had is about human performance, because all of this is related to human performance. Everything that we do in trading and investing is related to human performance. If you don't have the right attitude for this, if you don't have the right approach to what you're doing, you don't have a prayer in this market, because you'll fall back on the same old things that everybody else does. You'll let that dinosaur brain rule your decisions, and we all know how that works. So I actually, not to shill my own work, but I have to put it up here. I wrote a book a couple years back called Hacking the Holy Grail. Everybody that I know that's in trading is out there looking for the Holy Grail of trading. The Holy Grail of trading is that strategy that allows you to win every time without taking any risk, and it's just a very easy thing to do. Well, it doesn't really exist. There's no strategy that's out there that gives you any kind of edge like that. It's actually all up in your mind. And so I haven't seen a whole lot of work that's out there for traders on how to tap into the power of your mind for trading. So again, Hacking the Holy Grail by yours truly. Okay, another book that's been out there for a while. Again, don't buy this new. This would be very expensive to buy this hardcover new. If you guys are out there trying to work XRP, you're in the wrong place today. It probably would be, your time would probably be better spent somewhere else. So Trading Chaos by Bill Williams. Well, the first time I read this was like, what the hell is this guy talking about? And it's one of those books that catches up with you, because it really, for those of you that have traded long enough, you know that there's sort of a personality to the market. There's sort of an art to it. We focus on the science, but as you get more and more involved with markets, you'll understand that there's an art to that. So Trading Chaos by Bill Williams really speaks to that. And it's kind of interesting. He's got a unique strategy that he includes with it as well too. Now, one of the studs of the trading business, which is about trader performance, is Van Tharp. Unusual name, very good book. This kind of structure you can use with trading. Again, don't buy the hardback. Buy it used, find it used. You can get it for a fraction of the cost. But Van Tharp shows you how to statistically measure risk in what you're doing and go down to R multiples. Do I recommend these books for beginners, bringers? I'm assuming you're asking about beginners. Yes, I think there's no delineation here. Everything that I'm showing you here today is something that a true beginner can start to learn from. Sometimes what you'll find is that with resources like this, if you don't understand something the first time, it'll tend to rattle around in your head until later, all of a sudden it'll sink in and you're like, oh, that's what he was trying to say. So when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Now, this is one of my very favorites when it comes to trader performance, and this is the man here. This guy's he goes by Brett Steenbarger, Enhancing Trader Performance. I know this is real shiny. I'm trying to move it around so it's not so shiny. Enhancing Trader Performance, Proven Strategies from the Cutting Edge of Trading Psychology. Think about what this guy does for a second. This guy, for a living, works in Chicago, works for a professional trading firm, and he's got 50 traders that he has to coach every single day. He analyzes their performance, sees what they're doing right. Let's do more of that. Sees what they're doing wrong. Let's do less of that, and helps them make more money for the firm, for themselves, and everything like that. So this guy is incredibly important, and what he's done is write about his experiences in this book. So a lot of the things that I do when I teach courses and I show people how to tune the strategy and make it theirs, it's come right from here. So go to the book. This one's definitely worth getting. So find it, again, if you can find it used. If not, this is worth the money on Amazon. Okay. Now we're getting to the gold standard when it comes to trader performance. And I think you guys can find this one. This is called Trading in the Zone. There's a number of sources for this. Unfortunately, the author has passed away. So I don't know if this one's in print still. I know that you can probably find it in PDF. There's actually also some audiobooks that are out there. But Trading in the Zone is one of these books that I read about once a year. And every time I read it, I pick something new out of this. So Mark Douglas, Trading in the Zone, is kind of the gold standard for trading performance, right? It's for understanding what you're doing and how to become better at what you're doing. Enhancing Trader Performance by Brett Steenbarger, Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. These are excellent books. Okay, so I got, I told you this was a big list. Now, I've got a very short list of books here. This is called Trading Biz. So if you want to run your trading like a business, these are some books that I would recommend. If you guys don't know Jocko Willink, Extreme Ownership, find the Jocko podcast and start to follow Jocko Willink. Actually, I've been following, this is about the only thing I listen to on my headphones these days is Jocko and his podcast, because this guy is a former Navy SEAL commander, and it's like, if you want to know how human beings achieve ultimate performance, watch what these guys do. So any kind of special forces, or Navy SEALs, Spetsnaz, any kind like that, think about what they do. They have to overcome their own inborn limitations, right? To be able to achieve their unbelievable performance that these guys do. So I think what a special forces operator can do is what a trader can do. So again, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink is an excellent read and applies directly into trading. All right. Now, this one is a little bit more obscure. There's a guy by the name of, I got this sweet little thing here. Ray Dalio ran one of the biggest hedge funds in the world, Bridgewater, billions of dollars. And oh, by the way, guys, just because I'm talking about something with the stock market doesn't mean that it's not applicable to crypto. When it comes to trading assets, it's all the same thing. So one of the things that I got from Ray Dalio was human beings are very emotional about how we look at markets, right? This is why they move, because of emotions. And what Ray Dalio has done through principles has showed you basically how a human being, an individual, can become their own hedge fund by applying systems and principles of automation, things like that. It's not an easy read. It's actually very well written. It's going to take you a while to get through. Again, if you can find it used, don't. You know, a lot of hardbacks, when you go through the initial release, are actually fairly inexpensive. So this one is going to stick around for a while. Okay, the last book for trading business is, this one's been around. There's the New Market Wizards and the Market Wizards. And these are probably, I don't know, 20 some years old, by Jack Schwager. And this guy does interviews with big time traders, the guys that swing a big stick, guys that are swinging, $1 million accounts and things like that. Years and years and years of consistent performance. How do they go about, how do they think? How do they go about doing things? It's not necessarily about the strategy that they use, because most of their strategies are relatively crude and simple. It's about how they manage themselves. Very interesting reading. Again, this is the one that I have there. The first book that came out was called The Market Wizards. I don't have that one. I bought this one. This is one of the first books I bought. All right. I have a literal pile of books behind me here, guys. All right. Last one. Now we're getting to the trading technical books. This is probably what you thought I was going to start with, but all right. So it's another big list of books here. Sorry if I'm fading in and out here. Okay, so let's see. No, we're not going to use that one. Okay. This one is, if you ever bought the Investor's Business Daily, you got a free copy of this book. So I don't know if they still sell it, or it used to be available in bookstores. It's actually a really good trading book. Again, it doesn't matter that this is about stocks. And you can ignore all the stuff about fundamentals for how to fundamentally qualify a stock. That doesn't matter for us in cryptocurrency, but how they analyze price action, how they make decisions, how they manage risk. Excellent stuff. Well written, very easy to read, great manual. The Successful Investor by William O'Neill. So anything that Bill O'Neill does is actually pretty good. Yep, I'm shilling books. That's what I'm doing. I'm shilling books. Again, if you're saying those kind of comments on here, this is probably not the place you want to be on a Friday afternoon. Okay. Let's see. I've got an I Love Voting sticker on here. I don't know why. This is Way of the Turtle by Curtis Faith. Way of the Turtle by Curtis Faith. He was one of the original turtle traders. If you guys don't know, the experience or the experiment was back in the 1980s. They took a bunch of random people off the street with some skills, but no trading skills, and basically taught them how to trade in 2 weeks. And a lot of them actually did pretty well. So this is one of the stories and some of the lessons learned from Way the Turtle. For those of you that want to trend trade, this is a good book for trend trading. Okay, when it comes to actual trading, there's probably no better book than Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. There's so many lessons that are in this book. If you have not read this, you owe this to yourself to read it. It's about 100 years old. It was printed back in the 1920s. It doesn't matter, though. It doesn't matter that it was printed back 100 years ago. What you'll recognize is just about everything is about the same. And so that's the more autobiographical book. And then there's other people that have written about Jesse Livermore themselves and said, hey, let's kind of analyze what this guy was doing. And so again, if you're into trend trading, if you want to get into something and hold it a long period of time and like work every inch out of that trend, the Livermore is somebody that you want to study. You want to study his techniques. This is not for somebody that's just going to be doing swing trading in and out, day trading in and out, none of that. So again, the Jesse Livermore books are really good for if you're into trend following, trend trading. So somebody's asking if I see hodling as a form of trading. Hodling is simply longer term trend trading without any structure, right? If anybody can actually tell me what structure hodling actually has, if anybody can define for me what an actual exit that hodling has, then I'll recognize it as an actual legitimate form of trading. But right now, I think hodling is just a lazy man's version of, and don't take this personally, guys, if you're out there asking this question, it's just a lazy man's version of trend trading. It's trend trading without structure, without knowledge, without form. Okay? So again, don't take it personally. I just don't think it's a good idea to do that. I think it's always a good idea to have an exit for something, to have an exit in mind before you enter a position. Okay, Martin Pring on price patterns. I'm not recommending this specific book. If you want to read about price patterns, read Thomas Bulkowski. Thomas Bulkowski. His books are expensive. I don't happen to have any of his. A lot of the work that I've done on price patterns were on borrowed books. And you can find his blog, you can find his website. The guy's excellent with his statistical view of this. But I do believe in price patterns. If you don't understand price patterns, learn them because you will see them in your sleep. You will see them everywhere. Okay. I have a huge pile of books behind me. It's amazing. All right, down to my last three, and then I'll move on, I swear. Okay, Trend Following by Michael Covell. Again, he was one of the turtles, so he wrote about it in Trend Following. Michael Covell. This is one of the most frustrating books that you will ever read because you look at a book that's this thick and how much of it is actual strategy? Zero. There is no strategy in this thing at all. It's more about the mental state of mind on how to get involved into a trend and stick with it because it's so hard to do. So it's kind of an unusual book. I mean, I'm reading through this thing and I'm like, where's the meat? Where's the beef? You know, those kind of things. It's just very little in here. But it's all about interviews with different trend traders, their state of mind, how you get onto a trend and stay through it. It's a very Zen kind of book. Anyway, Trend Following by Michael Covell. Okay, last two. This is a recent acquisition of mine, High Probability Trading Strategies by Robert Miner. Again, kind of expensive. Find it used if you can because it includes a CD in the back. I don't know if you necessarily need that. What I like about this book is that I recognized some of my own techniques in this book. Now, they're not my techniques. It's just the ones that I use happen to match what this guy uses. And it's like, oh, well, that's cool. So I'm getting kind of I picked out a few things out of this that I'm going to apply towards my own trading. But it's about multiple time frame filtering, multiple time frame trading strategies, which I adore. Okay, last one I want to bring up to you guys is a book. If you've ever heard of this guy, his name is John Carter, and he's not known in the crypto space at all. He runs a company called Simpler Options, Simpler Trading. He's out of Austin, Texas. Very interesting individual, very skilled trader. It's actually a really good read. I know this sounds odd to say this, but this was the one trading book I was reading in an airport and I couldn't put it down. Okay, so seriously, I guess maybe that's a litmus test for you to find out whether or not you're meant to do this for a living. But John Carter, Mastering the Trade, excellent book about trading, about how to run a business, how to become a trader, how to make it through trading. Okay, so that's half an hour talking about books. You got a reading list. You guys have some work to do. So again, if you've missed any of those, if you didn't catch the author, just replay the video, go back and you'll hear the author's name. You'll see the book title. What was the John Carter book called? Mastering the Trade. Too many books. Which one to start with? Find something that catches your interest. Start with mine. Start with mine. I don't know what you need, so I can't tell you which one to start with. I don't know whether you need to work on human performance. I don't know whether you need to work on trading performance first, whether you just need some polishing up on the trading business end of it, or whether you don't have any trading technical background. Understand what it is. I mean, to me, everybody needs all of this stuff. And if you want to make it in this business, you will dedicate yourself to learning as much as possible. What I found was I had to have a different attitude about learning. Look, I was like everybody else. You get through high school, it's like, okay, how can I do as little as possible to get through this? You get through college. How can I do as little as possible just so I can get my damn degree and get out there and earn a living? Okay? That was kind of that attitude. But then once you dedicate yourself to something like this, like trading, you want to learn everything that you can about this because you need that edge over the next guy or next woman. Don't want to be gender exclusive here, right? So what's the best book for the mental side? Yeah, there was one book on cryptocurrencies in there. You know, actually, there's not a whole lot that's worth buying about cryptocurrency books. And what is out there from 2 years ago is already outdated, right? If you read a book from 2 years ago, it's going to be about the magic and the wonder of ICOs. It's not worth it, right? Why bother? Okay. All right. So let's get on to the next section here. Again, for those of you that are joining me here, welcome to ReadySetCrypto. Welcome to Trade School. This is something that we do once a week or so, once or twice a week with our premium members. So I'd like to welcome all of you that are premium members. Welcome back. And for those of you that are guests here today, welcome aboard. We're dishing out a little bit of knowledge here today. So I want to talk about short setups. This will take maybe, I'm thinking about 10 minutes or so, and then I'll open it up for questions. Please don't ask me anything about Ripple. I'll bring up a chart, and that's not what you want to hear. So now that we've been in a bear market for the past year, there's a lot of interest in short setups lately, right? Surprise, I can't discuss what broker to use. It's like really confusing. You can't go to Coinbase and just start shorting, right? It just doesn't work that way. And there's different instruments that are better for shorting than others. So that's a complicated discussion. Truly depends where you live, what you're using, what you're allowed to trade, what skills you have, all those kind of things, right? So let's do this. Let's go with little doc, bigger slides. How about that? You guys don't want to look at me? All right, so when we look at this, we're like, okay, yeah, this is kind of a bear market, and yeah, we're working our way down. The larger time frame trend is to the downside. In today's session, I want to give you a couple of pointers to help you secure a better edge. There is a different way to trade a bear market. Maybe you knew that, maybe you didn't. If you didn't know that, welcome aboard. So when I get into trading, I just assumed you could just flip everything upside down, right? Well, what works to the upside, you could just flip it upside down and run the strategy in reverse. Wrong. You can't do it that way. And there's a reason why. Bear or corrective markets have a character all their own, and each character differs because of the emotions attached to it. So for those that haven't been through my fractal class, there's 4 different types of characters that markets display. One of them is quiet and trending. Now, quiet and trending is your typical bull market, which just goes back and forth like this, and is a very, I don't want to say predictable, but there's a very linear path that the price takes. It just does it over and over again. Typically, it's stair-stepping higher in a diagonal fashion. That will eventually yield to what's called sideways and volatile. When markets get unstable like this, it's like it's telling you, uh-oh, instability is not a good thing when it comes to a market. But bull markets always end in exactly the same way. They always get unstable first, and then they start to trend. And this is the third one, called volatile and trending. And volatile and trending is always to the downside. And we've actually had a couple of different characters because we did do the fourth one, which is quiet and sideways, didn't we? We did quiet and sideways, and that was through the summer as it went like this. Range expansion goes to range contraction, and then we just went blah, like this to the downside. Still a downtrend. So there's 4 different types of characters. We are still in volatile and trending until the market shows us otherwise. Okay, so what kinds of emotions are associated with uptrends, right? We have complacency, we have greed, we have I am wonderful, I am great, everything is terrific, right? You don't get fear. The only fear that you get during a bull market is the fear of missing out, don't you? It's like, oh my God, there it goes. I've got to get on board. Did you guys know that the pain associated with missing out on a rally, which has left the station without you, is actually greater than taking a stop loss on a position? You didn't know that. And this is why it's so painful to see. This is why everybody chases into the end of 17. But those are the emotions that are associated with uptrends. But when it comes to a downtrend, and actually the equities market, the U.S. equities market today, once again, is just getting taken out back and shot, slaughtered, right? Downtrends, we're seeing huge emotions come out right now. And as we have for the last year in crypto. So downtrends have much different emotions. Fear is playing into these emotions, right? So price takes the stairs up. This is how things move. Price takes the stairs up, very quiet, very repetitive, very linear, and the window down. That's how it works. Price takes the stairs up and the window down. We can't just flip our strategies upside down and expect them to work. Doesn't work that way. So we have to count for the price moving differently to the downside, don't we? So moves are sharper. They come without warning. Where the hell did that come from? And so I will say something here that I want you to remember. You have to be in it to win it. And the rhyming helps with your ability to remember this. You have to be in it to win it. You can't chase after this. You cannot chase this train out of the station and hope to get on board. It will go too fast. And if you chase after it, if you enter it after the move has already happened, you will get stopped out. You will get bent over. So you will lose significant edge if you chase this and or take a stop out. So you have to be already on board these things before they release. So it's really difficult for most people to enter these. So there's a concept of duration over direction. So you have to have duration for the position. You have to be on it and just be patient to wait for the release. So let's pull back for a second. Let's add a little bit of structure to what we're talking about today. Let's use the 4 rules of price action as our context for this. If you guys remember what a presentation I did a couple months back on the 4 rules that you got to know. Larger time frames dominate the trend. Rule number 1. Rule number 2, reversals come from the inside out. They propagate higher in time. So what this means between these 2 rules is that for a larger time frame, you got these things chugging in this direction, a larger time frame. You know, you can have a smaller time frame, so let's put L for larger time frame or S for smaller time frame, and you'll see smaller time frames will have all kinds of reversals in here like this, but because of the fact that we have a trend in this direction, it's going to sort of pull this one along. And if you've ever heard me talk about this, I use the dog owner taking a dog for a walk based on the leash, and the dog can be sniffing all over the place, but the leash will eventually pull them in the same direction as the owner, unless the dog is walking you. Number 3, descending patterns break to the upside, and ascending patterns break to the downside. So a descending pattern, something that's moving like this, will always break to the upside eventually. And by the same token, an ascending pattern, which is going like this, boom, 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 which is what we're going to see And bearish moves, this is called a bear flag, will eventually break to the downside. Yes? That's rule number 3. And then we have range contraction leads to range expansion. And the converse of that. So when we see price moving, we'll see price range expansion, range contraction, usually into a bear flag. And then we'll see range expansion again, usually into a bear flag. Usually this is how it works a lot of the time. So the initial move that we saw, that release that we saw from 6,000 on Bitcoin, flies down here. This is kind of where we're at right now. We're just in a consolidation pattern. So everybody's like, oh my God, here comes the second coming. Just relax. It's just consolidation that's happening. It's just rule number 4. Range contraction, range expansion. So how can we use these 4 rules to beef up our approach? Well, I have some ideas for you guys here. Number 1, larger time frames dominate the trend. That's rule number 1. We should trade in the direction of the anchor chart swing. What's the anchor chart? The anchor chart is basically going to anchor what we're trading off of. Right now, we have a weekly trend going in this direction on most coins. Let's just stick with Bitcoin right now, just to give ourselves a reference. So yeah, we're bouncing around up here, but the overall trend is still to the downside. Now, you can trade this counter trend if you have a decent enough swing, and this is what we're going to see, I believe, in 2019. We're going to see all kinds of movement like this. We're going to be base building in crypto base building. So we're going to get lots of volatility, and I'll have more to say about that in the coming weeks. So base building, volatility, it's going to be a trader's paradise coming up. Okay, so you want to trade in the direction of the swing, that anchor swing. Trade along with that anchor swing, whatever you define that to be. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is reversals come from the inside out. So just because we're watching these anchor chart swings, right? So let's just assume we have like a big range-bound swing like this. What we will see on a smaller time frame, let's superimpose price action on a smaller time frame, which is going to look like this. And then you'll see a lower high and a reversal, change in polarity down like this. Then you'll see a reversal, change in polarity, higher low. And this just keeps on going back and forth like this, right? So I could draw the whole thing out, but you guys get the picture. We should use a smaller time frame chart to spot the first possible reversal. Price action is going to be the quickest way to identify these, but not everybody likes to use that. So we can add number 3, ascending patterns break to the downside. Now this is where we're going to come into play with this, is where we see a nice flag setting up like this. We will have a beautiful trend line that we can play off of here. We can wait for the price to kind of do one of these, and then we'll play off that trend line. And rule number 3 really helps because we'll see that lower high setup. We'll see any oscillator reversals, crossovers, things like that. Everything kind of comes together and we can anchor off of that trend line. I watch this every day. Every day I'm watching like the NASDAQ futures and I'm trading off of trend lines like this. All right, so let's go to rule number 4 and we'll wrap up here in just a minute. Range expansion, range contraction. So what we can look for, and this is a little bit more advanced skill. So if you're seeing something like this, reach up and it may go into exhaustion. And for those of you that know what exhaustion looks like on the choppiness index, this shows that we're more than likely going to pull into some type of consolidation, and this may be setting up for the lower high. So we can actually time this. We can understand the context of what's going on in that anchor chart and then look for a smaller time frame signal. Again, this is more of a, I'd say more of an advanced skill to use multiple time frames like this. Less reliable than uptrends. So we can't always depend on that exhaustion to kickstart the move down again. Okay. Thank you. Is it Lene? I'm sorry. Ms. Mortensen. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so if we were to look at this, this is the anchor chart. Anchor chart, and here's the signal chart. Now the anchor chart is giving me the context of what I want to look for. And in this case, maybe this is like a 5-hour chart, and then I can go down here to a 12-minute chart. There's a 25-to-1 time frame difference between these two. Okay, thumbs up. All right, fist bump. Boom. Thank you. Okay, so what we're going to look for is we want to trade in the direction of the anchor chart swing. So off the bottom, here's the swing. Swing is to the downside. Here's the swing to the upside. Okay, so we could go long here. We could be taking long signals, and now what we're looking for is maybe a short signal, because that's what today's session is about. What we can do is we can get, see if I can get a, I'll just go with a freehand. Let's see if I can freehand this. Oh, there we go. All right, so here's an ascending pattern, right? Ascending trend line. Eventually, this is going to break to the downside. So we may look for this to break to the downside. We may use an oscillator crossover, right? We may look for a lot of energy to break this thing to the downside. We may look for over here to the signal chart. And actually, this is where the fractals line up really nicely too, because you can see that this is a rising pattern, which breaks to the downside. Rule number 3 happens everywhere in every time frame. And so if you're looking to take this one short, you can anchor off of the trend line. You can wait for the break of the trend line. Maybe you're going to see a lower high, lower low combination. You're going to see another oscillator cross over here. You can like stack up all these things. You can get all your sights lined up and take a very accurate trade with this. But again, like I said, you got to be in it to win it. The actual release of this is going to be very quick, so you almost have to anticipate the entry of these things. So I could go on for hours, but that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, is to use those 4 rules as much as you can, or to your extent that you can, and apply them to increase the probability. So trade in the direction of the anchor chart swing is a huge one. If you just do that, you can be so much more accurate than most traders. If you look for reversals, number 2, if you look for reversals on the signal chart, you're going to be much more accurate. Notice how the reversals on the signal chart, you start to see these things. Okay, so here's an uptrend, higher lows and higher highs, and all of a sudden we break a trend line at the same time that it puts in a lower high, and it's done. Right? So that's not bad. You're getting a move from 4,000 down to 3,900. That's a 100-point Bitcoin move. You can make some hay in that, guys. You can make that, and that's only, this is a 12-minute chart, so that's just a, an hour or two here. Okay, and then, we talked about rising patterns, break to the downside, and then we talked about range contraction, range expansion. We would use the CHOP index here. Notice that when it builds up a huge amount of energy, this is where we get our big moves from. Okay, so just kind of a quick Friday trade school. Wanted to remind you guys that Mav is holding his class on STOs, Secure Token Offerings, and that class sale is on until Christmas, which is Tuesday. And we're also offering 10% off all of our classes until Christmas. That is the only selling that I will do for you guys today. I just want to encourage you guys to join us, because we're a big believer in what we do, and we want to offer high quality, affordable education to people so that they can come up to speed and become part of the crypto revolution. Have a wonderful holiday from ReadySetCrypto. And I would love to answer any questions that you guys have in the next couple of minutes here before I say adieu. What is that indicator? What is that indicator? The indicator, I have a couple of indicators off here. This is the choppiness index. This is offered through TradingView. And the oscillator down here is, this is one of Robert Miner's oscillators from that one book that I showed you, the green book with the yellow lettering. And I'm just experimenting with this. It is available through the public library at TradingView, but it's not one that I'm endorsing, or I'm not saying anything about it right now. It's just an oscillator. So Daniel, how do you make hay in a $100 move? Are you leveraging somehow? You can do that. What I would recommend, the best way to trade those is through futures contracts. The best way to trade is through futures contracts. When do you close the short? That depends on whether you're doing trend trading. That depends if you're doing intraday. So if you're doing intraday, you want to close by, you don't want to be monitoring the position as you go driving out to dinner or something like that. Typically what you're doing is you're looking for, if it's possible to get a 3-to-1 target. So typically if you're doing short-term scalping, you're selling into a target, a fixed target. Could you summarize what is covered in your trend trading class? So trend trading class is about finding, it's not about the short-term scalping stuff that I was showing you here today. Trend trading is about trying to get on one of these monster trends. And the reason why I gave this class last month was we want to start getting good. It does take a while for you to get good at something. You're not going to get instantly good at something by taking a class over the weekend. It's something that you have to apply to, you have to practice. And the most important thing I want to emphasize for you guys is that you have to internalize it. This has to become Daniel's strategy or Aviad's strategy or Leif's strategy. This can't be Doc's strategy. You can't just trade somebody else's strategy and expect to make money for it. Because of all that pile of books that's behind me, what I found is that if you don't have any skin in the game, if you've not done the hard work to go through the repetitions and build a strategy and make it part of you, then what will happen is your subconscious mind will kick in at the moment of maximum adversity and will take you out of a perfectly good trade just because you got scared. And you'll try to justify it later on as like, well, I just wanted to make sure we didn't lose too much on that trade. But that's not how to do it. So what I'm always trying to instruct you guys to do is to make it your own. And I'll go off on that. So the trend trading class, I want you guys to build your own, and it's for you to find a way to get onto those monster trades and how to manage it. So it's like Huddle with structure. That's probably the best way I could put it. It's Huddle with structure. Do I like to use candlesticks to indicate a turn as well? Yeah, I will look for specific candlestick patterns. Now, I am not the Steve Nissen of trading. I find some of this stuff very, very tedious, and it's almost like you're pattern fitting you're curve fitting backwards just to justify something. But I like to understand the emotion that's involved in a candlestick, such as like when we're looking at candlesticks like this, right here, this is a shooting star and generally indicates that there's more selling pressure than buying pressure. And so this is a good place for, it just becomes a data point. Okay. Aviad, you sold Bitcoin at 4,000. Now you have no idea what to do next. Wait until markets go higher. Right now they're going lower. Wait until markets start to trend higher. Wait until they trend higher. Don't buy the dip. Everybody out there is telling you to hodl and to buy the dip. They have no idea what they're doing. What is low can become lower. Wait until markets start to actually show their hand and trend to the upside. How do we join your premium group? Where can we see these weekly courses? You go to the store and you can sign up through the premium newsletter in there. And then all of the we have an archive of these trade sessions, trade school sessions that are out there that you'll get access to once you sign up. In your honest opinion, Josh, what is the % chance that we hit bottom at 3,100? I have no idea. What is that stone that is from the Lord of the Rings? I was looking for that earlier. Somebody was asking me and I was like trying to look up the name of that. I don't have one of those stones. I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. The important thing is that you understand what you will do, whether the price goes up, whether it goes down, or whether it stays sideways. What will you do? So if you knew the answer to what was going to happen tomorrow, what would you do? Probably nothing, right? That's the way the human mind operates. So don't focus on trying to predict the future. understand better what you will do depending on whether the price shows its hand up, down, or sideways. Do I encourage learning Elliott wave principle? Yes and no. I only believe in the 5-wave pattern, in the structure of the 5-wave pattern, because it ties into emotions, the human emotions. Smart money is wave 1. Institutions get involved in wave 3. And then we have wave 5 is when retail finally feels comfortable with getting on board, and it's always too late. And then comes the corrective. Okay, you're waiting for an answer. Good. I'd rather hodl instead of getting wrecked trading and miss the overnight bull run. Okay, good. As long as you have a structure, I want you to write down your structure. Write down today how you will manage your position. Even if you didn't follow rule number 1 of risk management, even if you didn't do that, write down today how you will manage your position going forward, and then stick to it. All right, good. Do you get access to all the classes if you sign up for the premium newsletter? No, you do not. The classes themselves are specific point solutions that you get infinite access for as long as you want to those, but they're not wrapped up into the newsletter. Those are different from the trade schools that I do here. So the trade schools I do live, we just do these once or twice a week for maybe half an hour or so. This one's gone a little long, but yeah, those are all through the premium newsletter. And we also do, Mav and I get together like Wednesday nights, and we do stuff for the premium newsletter members as well too. So we kind of get together because we need to see Mav, we need to see the voice, the face behind the voice, right? How do you know when the bulls are about to go? You don't. Nobody knows when the bulls are about to go. So there's so much ink that's wasted. There's so many web pages that are created for no reason whatsoever by people that don't know what's going to happen in the future, but it gets them good clicks and good ratings if they have the right thumbnail, if they have the right title. It's a catchy title, Bitcoin to run in 2019, whatever. Look, nobody knows the future. Learn how to read price. That's all that counts. Okay. All right. So I think we've answered all the questions. I want to thank you guys again for hanging out with me here today. Don't forget, one more time, ReadySetCrypto.com/STO for the sales discount. You don't want to never pay full price for something. Good grief. And so we're offering a sale through Christmas. Could make a nice stocking stuffer, right? So join us in the classes and let us know how we can help going forward. And I look forward to seeing you in another trade school. And with that, have a wonderful holiday from ReadySetCrypto. I'd like to thank you guys for hanging out with me here today. And everybody have a terrific weekend. I hope you get a chance to hang out with your families and, spread some love out there, guys. We'll see you around.